Hello, today we're going to check out the classic 1992 platformer Fire and Ice by the legendary coder Andrew Braybrook. I always remember the game for being very, very colorful, even though it's only in 4-bit plane 16 colors. For you right here, bit plane 0, 1, 2, and 3. That makes up everything. Looking at the palette visualizer, you can see the 16 colors here, and then the copperized colors here. We'll get more into that later. And then at the bottom, all the 16 colors change for the map here, and then again for the water down here. So right now you have 160 colors. So right now in game you've got 158, which lays shame to just 16. If you take all the bit planes off, you're left with just the sprites here. So let's check them out one at a time. You've got sprite 0, which is part of the score up here, and then part of your character, and then the little indicator that shows where you are on the map. Sprite 1 attaches them so that there are 15 colors. Sprite 2, the other half of the coyote, more of the score. Sprite 3 finishes that off with 15 colors. Sprite 4 gives you his tail and the lives counter. Sprite 5 finishes that off. The thing I was super shocked about the first time I checked this game in the debugger is that these foreground objects, they're not sprites. I thought for sure that they would be sprites in the foreground there, but if you put the Blitter visualizer on, they're actually all being blit. Look at that. There's lots of Blitter activity, all of these snowballs here, and the scrolling. You can see the tiles at the top and on the side coming in. It shows 50 frames per second here, but it actually doesn't run at 50 frames per second. It's 25 frames per second. It's just the water here that's moving at 50, so it's detecting that. But if I move here and I do it frame by frame, so frame, 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 frame. So every other frame for the scrolling and for the character and for the enemies. And you've got a visible area of 304 by 238. And the actual playable screen is 304 by 192. So in the copper visualizer, there's quite a lot of stuff going on. Up here, the green is changing the color of the sprites over here, adding a gradient to them. And right here is the copper split for the scrolling and the buffers. And then down here, it's changing the colors for this map area. And then right here is a bit plane modulo that does the mirroring of the map here into the water, the reflection. And then all down here is the bit plane playfield horizontal scroll values changing, which is giving the waviness to the water. But the coolest thing going on here in my book is these changing copper skies. Not many games were able to do this. So color 2 is the copper sky. You can see how it changes all the way down the screen. So we'll see if we can catch it in action. And now we'll play it and let's see in real time what happens when that color comes down. Look, now it's changing. Changing. Checking out some of the other levels. Here's the underwater world. And if we put the Blitter visualizer on, you can see a lot of action. The bubbles are all being blit. And then if you jump up to here, the top waves are all being blit because they're animating. So here in the cave level, you've even got some scaling going on. Watch this guy throwing the flaming arrow in the back. So it goes from this to this to this to this to this to this to this, and finally to this. And then with the Blitter visualizer on, we got lots of blits here. Over here with the waterfall, look at all those. And then when we jump, look at that. Crazy amount of action. So right here is almost a full screen of blitz, and it still maintains 25 frames per second. So this was Andrew Braybrook's first time that he got to lead with the Amiga version. So he wasn't restrained by the Atari ST or any 8-bits. So he just went hog wild here in the final congratulatory level. And look at all the stuff going on here. Look at that. And if you put the Blitter visualizer on, it's just, yeah, pretty much the whole screen just doing everything. He was really showing off his programming prowess. So with this crazy Blitter action here, it's still maintaining 50 frames per second while for the water down here, but the rest of it, 25 frames per second. The only compromises he makes are this part right here, and some of the arrows and stars only change every 4th frame. So I'll do it frame by frame here. So frame to frame, frame to frame, frame to frame, frame to frame. So we pretty much put a demo scene demo into a game. Very cool. Speaking of a whole frame of blitz, right here, this one is literally the entire screen except for some of these colored blocks. So some very nice end credits. Looked like they had a lot of fun making this. There was also a CD32 version with parallax backgrounds that came out later. in 1994, I think. So check that one out too. Great game. So hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching. Always appreciate it. Till next time, take care. The end.